What's going on there, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Craftavore Tastes. And today we are digging into, dare I say it, a little old school beer time. It's tough for me to use the word old school for a beer that basically launched, I think, in 2011. But as we all know how rapidly the craft beer industry has changed since 2011, and honestly is, changing rapidly, literally by the month or literally by the day. I don't think calling this an old school beer is really all that far off. So the beer that we're diving into today is actually from an OG New England brewery, and that is Maine Beer Company out of Freeport, Maine. This is their famous Lunch. So Lunch is a IPA coming in at 7% ABV. And this was one of those beers when I was, probably at the height of my craft beer fandom. Which I would probably put between 2012 and maybe early 2016, right? So I was posting regularly on Beer Advocate and a whole other kind of craft beer focused message boards. I was trading, this is pre-kids, so I was traveling to breweries frequently on the weekend, doing bottle shares. I mean, there's pretty much everything that you could possibly imagine. Home brewing, a tremendous more than I am currently now. So yeah, things have changed in that time period, and Lunch is one of those beers that was super uber hyped. And the first time that I was able to actually have it, had it on draft in Boston, I think. Could be off there. I went crazy. I was like, holy smokes, can't believe I actually found this. This is amazing. And then the first time that I actually found it in bottles, flew off the shelves, etc., etc., etc. And it's still kind of that way to some degree. Recently, the reason why I picked this up is because I found it actually at my local bottle shop, Cable Beverage. Shout out to you guys in Bardonia, New York. And looked at the bottling date, and it was 12/25/18. So man, super, super fresh. Don't know if I've seen Maine on the shelves down my way that fresh in quite some time, if ever. And I've actually noticed a lot more Maine beers coming out in both draft and in bottles. Their availability has really, at least from my perception, increased. I frankly haven't looked it up, and I probably should. I don't know if they've moved into a bigger space or maybe they've gotten a larger distribution footprint that I'm just not aware of. But I'm just seeing a lot more frequency of their beers. I'm seeing Lunch on draft in certain craft beer spots near where I live, and I've even seen Dinner. It went super quick and I didn't get a chance to get it, but I have actually seen it out there a couple of times in the last 6 months. So anyway, saw this. It's an absolute classic. I haven't had it, I want to say, in... probably 3 to 4 years. So it's almost going to kind of be a new review for me. All right. And there's obviously a lot of great things to still love about Maine Beer Company. Simply put, they're still packaging in these bottles. Pretty much when everybody has gone over to 16-ounce cans, nope. They're sticking with their laurels, they're sticking with their heritage and keeping them in these bottles, which I think is freaking super cool, man. It ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's awesome. And yeah, they just kind of continuously are kicking out world-class beers. They've kind of had their portfolio and all those beers that they consistently brew throughout the course of the year for quite some time. And I dig it. So here we go. We're going to dive into Lunch. All right, so let's go ahead and get this guy into a glass. Take a look at the appearance, get the aroma, taste it, and of course we're going to rate it. All right, so let's open up the top of that guy. Pour that into, I don't have any Maine Beer Company branded glassware, so we're going to go with Treehouse today. Get that guy lined up. Let's take a look at the appearance here. So, beer comes in a kind of, I would say medium plus orange kind of color. A little bit more on the orange or even slight light amber side than, a lot of traditional kind of New England style IPAs these days. Again, this is going to not be a, haze beer. It is a IPA that is brewed in New England, but at the time that it launched in 2018 when they debuted it, it basically was kind of like what they called an East Coast version of a West Coast IPA. So I'm expecting, obviously, what I remember from this beer with, loads of pop bitterness, perhaps a little bit of kind of pine going on there and all that fun stuff. So yeah, the beer comes in, I mean, it's not crystal clear. There's some chill haze kind of going on here, but, that's really kind of, it's basically a byproduct of the beer. It's not really the defining characteristic as you would obviously think as it pertains to New England haze. All right, so Looks absolutely gorgeous. Poured about a finger's worth of this kind of like nice kind of off kind of colored, almost centering around brown eggshell head. Looks absolutely freaking awesome. I can smell it already. Let's dive our nose into it again. Wow. Shoot, so I don't remember that from this beer. I don't know, maybe it's me, but like I'm just getting a tremendous amount of kind of like freshly squeezed orange. Freshly squeezed orange. Perhaps maybe even like a little bit of orange marmalade going on there kind of too. Just getting kind of like some candied kind of orange fruit elements to it. Nothing in the ways of like pine and things of that nature that I think I kind of remember from lunch. Maybe it's been a long time, so I could be dead wrong. I frankly should have looked like on my old Untapped on kind of some of the tasting notes that I picked up years ago, but yeah, I'm just getting kind of freshly squeezed orange lemonade, marmalade, kind of a candied kind of citrus kind of going on. It smells freaking great. Obviously, we're getting a little bit more of that, malty kind of backbone as well, coming from those malt, but yeah, smells delicious. Let's go ahead and give her a taste. Cheers. Wow. That is not what I remember lunch tasting like at all. Wow. Where do I begin with that? I'm a little bit lost for words at the moment because I feel like I've been kind of kicked in the gut. That's not good. That does not really taste that great. There is, obviously you're getting a bit of a pop of kind of bitterness coming from when you first taste that sip. It tastes a bit old and a bit stale, which is kind of interesting. The flavors are kind of super muted. There is kind of a little bit of that kind of candied citrus and candied orange kind of thing going on there, but man, I mean, there's the malt presence is so kind of overwhelming and overpowering. Yeah, that in many different ways, that's not the beer that I remember at all. There's really not a tremendous amount of hop kind of presence coming from that beer outside of just that, straight bitterness, which is quite nice, obviously. It's nice to kind of go back to, kind of a more kind of traditional style kind of IPA, West Coast style kind of IPA with that big pop of bitterness. I'm digging it. I'm loving it. I'm just really kind of searching for what I remember. If I remember lunch correctly, I remember it being a bit brighter. I remember it being quite a bit more aromatic from a hop perspective. It's just super, super muted as it relates to just hop characteristics. Yeah, it's bland, it's malty, and it frankly tastes a bit stale, which is insane. Considering this was packaged not even 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna give it another sip. Wow, man, that is rough. Oh, I'm gonna have to actually look and see if any of my fellow YouTubers have actually reviewed this beer recently, because I don't know. It's my first beer of the day, so my palate ain't wrecked. I know that for a fact. Yeah, this is straight up not good. I'm really, 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 really disappointed. That is like a kick in the nuts. Oh my god. All right, so, damn. Let's go ahead and give her a rating. Yeah. Where am I going to go with that? So, I enjoy the pop of bitterness. I enjoy it. Tastes like an IPA kind of should. It's a perfectly drinkable IPA. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but it ain't lunch. All right? It's not what I remember this beer being. I'm going to call this out right now. I think, obviously, since I've drank a shitload of haze in the last 4 years, I'm sure people will question whether or not my palate has changed. And, no. I'm telling you right now, that is not the beer that I drank that was previously known as lunch. Straight up, that's not it. With that said, it's a perfectly fine kind of West Coast kind of style IPA that's slightly devoid of flavor, a little bit, muted in terms of hops. but it's generally well balanced. And you know what? I mean, like it's not a drain pour by no stretch of the imagination. I'll finish this. I'll drink it. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give it a 3.75 caps, man. I'm pretty sure if I look back on my Untapped years ago, like Lunch was a 4.5, even maybe at some time 4.75, even 5 cap beer. So yeah, sliding all the way back down to 3.75 caps. Yeah, not good, man. So bummer. Sorry about that. All right, so 3.75 caps from the Craftavore Tastes for Maine Beer Company's Lunch. That'll do it for this episode. Hope you join me again for another episode where I drink, I review, I rate, and then I repeat. Cheers.